The man who'd bust to believe loyalty meant safety, that if you gave enough of yourself, the world would somehow protect you in return. For years, I built my life around that idea. One late night, one missed call, one ignored weekend at a time. Every spreadsheet, every shipment, every solved crisis felt like proof that I was worth something. Worth keeping, worth trusting. But there's something they don't tell you about loyalty. It blinds you. It makes you defend things that don't deserve your defense. And before you realize it, you're not serving a purpose anymore. You're serving a person. For 7 years, I was the first to arrive and the last to leave. The hum of the servers, the smell of burnt coffee, the silence of a life built entirely around a company badge. That was home. They called me reliable, efficient, dependable, but never free. I told myself it was temporary, that every sacrifice had a reason, that the world would balance itself out if I just stayed patient, stayed loyal, stayed good. But what happens when the place you gave your life to decides you're disposable? My name is Emily Carter, 38, operations manager at Helix Dynamics, a medical tech company that builds surgical implants and supplies for hospitals across the West Coast. If you'd asked me a year ago what I do for a living, I would have said everything, because that's what it felt like, keeping the gears running while everyone else got the credit. After the divorce, Helix became my entire world. I thought if I could build something perfect here, maybe I could rebuild what I lost at home. My daughter, Emma, stayed with her dad in Portland, 14, curious, sharp, too wise for her age. She'd visit twice a month, and every time she walked into my apartment, she'd glance at the stack of unopened files on the kitchen table and smile that patient smile. "You're building something good, Mom," she'd say, and I'd nod, pretending to believe it. Then she'd pause and whisper, "Just make sure you're building a life, too." I'd laugh it off, but her words always lingered longer than the silence after she left. Mark Ellison, my boss back then, was the kind of man who made loyalty sound like destiny. "Keep this up, Emily," he'd say, "and you'll go far." I believed him. He had that calm authority that makes you forget to question anything. And I wanted to believe that someone finally saw value in me that didn't need fixing. I started from the ground up, tracking shipments, fixing supply errors no one else could, rebuilding systems that had been broken for years. I learned every route, every vendor, every loophole in the company's veins. When others slept, I stayed. When they gave up, I found a way. And for a while, it worked. Mark would often say, "You're the backbone of this place." I used to take it as a compliment. Backbone meant strength, stability, trust. But backbones don't move. They hold everything else up while standing perfectly still. 7 years passed. Helix grew. New offices, new partnerships, new faces. And then came the whispers. Henderson, the regional director, was retiring. Mark had hinted more than once that I was next in line, the promotion everyone said I'd earned 10 times over. He'd smile that same mentor smile and say, "Be patient, Emily." When Henderson leaves, the seat is yours. And I believed him, because believing him was easier than imagining he'd lie. I thought I was standing at the edge of everything I'd worked for, but really, I was standing on the edge of everything I was about to lose. Welcome back to another episode of Revenge Takes HQ, where every story cuts deep and every ending hits harder for more power. And emotional stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get in today's tale. The morning felt different, the kind of quiet that carries meaning. I'd pressed my blazer twice, polished the heels I hadn't worn in months, and printed my notes 3 times over. Every corner of my apartment felt rehearsed, like even the air knew what today was supposed to be. I'd waited 7 years for this. Every missed weekend, every all-nighter, every tear shed behind a locked office door. It all led here. Today wasn't just about a promotion. It was proof that loyalty still meant something. The office was unusually still. No chatter, no clinking mugs, just whispers traveling down the hallway. I brushed it off. Nerves, maybe. But there was something in the way people looked at me that morning. as if they already knew the ending to a story I hadn't finished reading. The conference room was packed. Henderson's farewell banners hung behind the podium. Mark stood there, smiling, confident. The kind of calm you only wear when you've already made peace with a decision. I remember thinking he looked proud. Maybe even proud of me. Then he cleared his throat. His voice carried across the room like a steady tide. Today marks a new chapter for Helix Dynamics, he said. A chapter built on innovation, commitment, and leadership. And so, he continued, it's my honor to introduce our new Director of Operations, Ryan Hale. Ian at the company less than a year. The man who'd once asked her how to format a budget report. She clapped. Because everyone else did. Because that's what professionals do, even when their world quietly collapses in front of them. I smiled. I even congratulated him. But inside, something broke. The folder in my hands, my speech, my plans, my hopes, felt heavier than ever. And for the first time in 7 years, I realized how silent applause could sound when it's not meant for you. When the applause faded, no one looked back. The room emptied, leaving only the hum of the projector and the echo of my own breathing. The screen behind me still read the company's slogan, Leadership Through Loyalty. I stared at those words until they blurred. Loyalty, the very thing that had built me, now mocking me from 10 feet away. That's when it hit me. Loyalty isn't a virtue in their world. It's a currency, one they spend until you're worthless. I'd been trading pieces of my life for a promise that never existed. Every sacrifice, every quiet moment I told myself was worth it. Gone, just like that. Not because I failed, but because I believed too much in people who never intended to believe in me. That's when I learned. Loyalty means nothing when profit speaks louder. Somewhere deep down, something began to shift. It wasn't rage, not yet. It was recognition, the quiet understanding that the version of me they broke wasn't coming back. They said change brings growth, but sometimes change only brings a reminder of everything that's been taken from you. Ryan arrived the next day, crisp suit, nervous smile, that polite energy of someone still learning how the walls of power echo back. Mark introduced us as if nothing had happened. Emily, you'll help Ryan get settled, he said, his tone smooth and familiar. He'll need your guidance in the transition. Transition. That word stayed with me, too rehearsed, too final. Ryan was kind, too kind almost. He asked questions I'd answered 100 times before, smiled when I corrected him, thanked me like an intern meeting his idol. I wanted to hate him, I wanted to blame him, but he wasn't the enemy. He was just another pawn, neatly placed, unaware of the game he'd been moved into. His ambition wasn't cruel, it was naive. And as I watched him stumble through decisions that used to be mine, I realized something. The real betrayal wasn't about titles or positions. It was about control. Mark had orchestrated everything, my loyalty, my trust, my silence. And Ryan, he was the perfect distraction. He'd taken my seat, but the one pulling the strings still sat across from me. Laya, you didn't hear this from me, but Ryan just got added to the Strategic Decision Group. The words hung in the air like static. Strategic Decision Group. The same circle I'd been promised for years. The same table Mark swore I'd lead someday. Laya hesitated, then added, Mark's been spending a lot of time upstairs. Private meetings, new investors. Haletech's name keeps coming up. Haletech, Ryan's father's company. It clicked then, the puzzle I'd been too loyal to question. The company started shifting, subtle things first. New protocols, approvals rerouted, memos signed by names that weren't mine. It wasn't an accident. It was replacement by erosion, not a cut, a quiet bleed. And through it all, Mark smiled that same calm smile. The one that used to reassure me. Now it only reminded me of how carefully he'd built his mask. I spent years protecting his empire. Now, I was watching him hand it to someone who didn't even understand what he was inheriting. The power I'd earned wasn't being stolen. It was being rewritten. Sometimes the truth hides in the quiet corners, where no one thinks to look. Olivia, one of the warehouse supervisors, pulled me aside. Emily, she whispered, glancing around. We've been getting new materials, cheaper batches, different codes. I flagged it, but Ryan cleared them. The name on the invoices hit her like ice. Hailtech Manufacturing. Hailtech, again. The same company tied to Ryan's last name. The same company Mark used to call a competitor to keep an eye on. It wasn't a partnership, it was an infiltration. Hailtech wasn't just supplying materials. They were buying Helix from the inside out, step by step, contract by contract. And Ryan's promotion? That was the first move. It wasn't a promotion anymore. It was a takeover, one deal at a time. The walls I helped build were being sold, and I was the only one who knew what it was really worth. That night, something changed. Not in the company, in me. They thought they'd buried me under loyalty. They just gave me the perfect place to start digging. Truth doesn't shout. It waits, buried beneath signatures, numbers, and the lies people call policy. The deeper I looked, the clearer it became. Every shipment, every cost adjustment, every executive decision, all neatly tied back to one name. Mark Ellison. Every line looked official, until you knew where to look. Duplicate invoices, forged timestamps, signatures layered over old ones. It wasn't incompetence, it was design. And then, the part that stopped me cold. Material test results. Residual oxide levels, triple the safety limit. These weren't just cheaper materials, they were dangerous. The kind that could fail inside a human body. The kind that could turn profit into death. That's when everything shifted. This wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about a title or betrayal or pride. It was about lives. For 7 years, I'd been loyal to an illusion. Now, for the first time, I had something real. Truth. And truth has a weight heavier than any promotion. If loyalty blinded me, then truth would be the thing that finally made me see. There's a silence that comes before a confrontation. Not fear, not hesitation. Just the sound of everything inside you aligning. Mark, Emily, you're early. Emily, I found something. Something you've been signing off on. You shouldn't be looking at those. Emily, steady. Maybe not. But someone has to. Mark, you've been here long enough to know how this works. Sometimes silence is the smarter choice. Emily, silence isn't smart when people can get hurt. Emily, you built this company on loyalty, Mark. Now I'm building what's left of my conscience on truth. Mark, you have no idea what you're risking. Emily, meeting his eyes. No, Mark. You have no idea what you've already lost. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small walking away. I didn't feel replaceable. I felt free. That was the moment I stopped being loyal and started being dangerous. When you stand up to power, it doesn't fall right away. It reshapes itself. Polite smiles, polished words, a new layer of control. They called it a review, but everyone in the office knew what it really was. A warning. HR Manager Emily, we've received reports of unprofessional behavior, unauthorized access to restricted files, disruption of company workflow. They weren't asking questions, they were building a narrative. Emily, I was doing my job, checking the materials we use for surgeries, the same ones you approved. HR Manager, that's not your department anymore. I realized then, his reach didn't stop at the boardroom. It stretched into every corner of Helix, every system, every conversation. He'd built loyalty the way others build prisons, invisible, unbreakable, and lined with silence. HR Manager, softly. We're not terminating you, Emily. Just realigning responsibilities. They wanted me quiet, but they picked the wrong woman. If they thought they could erase me, they forgot who wrote their playbook. Even the ones who benefited from my silence couldn't meet my eyes anymore. Because deep down, they knew. The story wasn't over. It's strange How quiet the world becomes when you lose everything that once defined you. No meetings, no emails, no purpose left to chase. Just the hum of the engine and the sound of your own thoughts echoing back. I saw the news about your company. Don't let them make you feel small. You're the strongest person I know. Her words cut through the fog. Gentle, steady, real. Strength wasn't about winning. It was about standing, even when no one clapped for you. All this time, I thought I was fighting to be seen. But maybe I was meant to see myself. They took my title. They stained my name. But they forgot something. I still had the truth. And truth doesn't disappear. It waits. That night, I stopped mourning what I'd lost and started preparing for what came next. They built their empire on silence, thinking no one would ever question the sound of it. But silence doesn't erase guilt. It only buries it until someone starts digging. Visual sequence. Folders open. Contracts lined across her desk. Company ledgers, chemical reports, shipment records. A test report marked in red. Contamination confirmed. Every number had a story. Every signature had a hand behind it. And I knew each one by name. For years, I kept their systems running. I patched their errors, covered their tracks, made their lies look like logic. Now, I was building my own system, one made of truth. They thought revenge was chaos, but revenge can be patient, quiet, measured, the kind that smiles while the storm gathers behind it. They called me the backbone, the one who held everything together when it was falling apart. But even a backbone can break or stand tall. I gave them loyalty. They gave me betrayal. But they forgot one thing. Betrayal creates memory. And I remember everything. Thanks for watching Revenge Tales HQ. Every story holds a lesson, and every ending, a new beginning. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.